On America's Test Kitchen, Bridget Lancaster is known for her relaxed demeanor and fun attitude. She's also changed right before our eyes. From a plain ponytail to a more glamorous wardrobe, her personal style has truly transformed. Though her visibility on America's Test Kitchen has so far proven to be her longest-lasting gig, Bridget Lancaster was already an established culinary professional before she started work with the organization. She was employed as a pastry chef in a restaurant in addition to serving as a stock clerk at Williams-Sonoma. Part of her responsibilities with the catalog giant was to handle drop-ins from big names on the celebrity chef scene. One of these visits was from none other than the original home television chef herself, the legendary Julia Child. This proved to be an oddly prophetic meeting that Lancaster had no idea would foreshadow her own rise as a broadcast culinary expert. Coming to the table with a food-centered skill set provided an easy transition for Lancaster. She had the knowledge and background of a professional chef thanks to her years of training, and she had experience engaging with well-known culinary figures. That said, it was only a matter of time before she began garnering attention for her cooking skills and her winning personality.
Well, that's food for thought.
Even before joining up with Christopher Kimball's televised endeavors, Lancaster had earned a place for herself on the crew of Cooks Illustrated, the company's flagship magazine publication. In the very beginning there, Lancaster first served as a test cook, where her job required her to fine-tune recipes in a similar fashion to what she would end up doing on the set of America's Test Kitchen. Today, the magazine arm of Cooks Illustrated continues to publish both in print and online, sharing recipes and techniques to elevate the home cooking experience. However, it's worth noting that Lancaster is no longer a part of that particular side of the company. Beyond Cooks Illustrated, Lancaster was also tapped to help launch and serve as the lead of the recipe development program for the more rural cuisine-focused Cook's Country magazine. This was so successful that she eventually became a host on the televised version of Cook's Country. Her presence expanded quickly, and she became a source of comfort for viewers who needed insight from a trusted expert. After 2 years of working for the organization, Lancaster made her debut on screen as an America's Test Kitchen featured cook. It wasn't long before her calm, confident demeanor and easy way of explaining kitchen processes made her a common presence on the show. Her behind-the-scenes explanations of how she came to her finished recipe were a peek inside the brain of a working chef and a source of insight that home cooks could easily understand. Between the magazine work and television roles she's held, Lancaster easily became a fixture in the halls of the America's Test Kitchen company. Having a role on not one but 2 cooking shows set Lancaster on a course for long-term exposure to a public who appreciated her ability to distill concepts down to their purest form. She seemed to be a natural teacher even from the beginning of her career. With 24 seasons of America's Test Kitchen and 16 seasons of Cook's Country, Lancaster has been on television for a combined 40 seasons. What's more, the ongoing production of both shows ensures she'll be a familiar face for the foreseeable future. After America's Test Kitchen originator Christopher Kimball made a rather surprising departure to start his next endeavor, Lancaster was tapped to step out from behind the counter to take on a co-hosting role. The company announced in 2016 that Lancaster and her fellow longtime test chef, Julia Collin-Davison, would share the apron. The two debuted in their new roles in January 2017, launching the next era of the America's Test Kitchen enterprise. With a match set of capable replacements taking the reins, many felt that the kitchen lightened up considerably from the get-go. The chemistry between the two new hosts was instant gratification for viewers. For instance, Reddit commenters expressed their delight at being charmed by the natural patter between Lancaster and Davison. It's a testament to the executives in charge who recognized the likability of Lancaster and Davison and created a power team. But while Davison's natural charisma always made her feel like a match for someone as bold as Kimball, Lancaster's low-key persona was allowed to breathe a bit more, giving her a voice that comes across as authoritative without ever being pushy. To many viewers, she makes it feel as if her audience has a friend on the inside of the cooking game. Though Lancaster was a familiar face in the test kitchen, her image was appropriate for a member of a working team and allowed her to blend in with the crew. Once her profile became more prominent, however, her style became a bit more polished. As a result, she was able to let down her trademark food-safe ponytail and add a touch of glamour to her wardrobe. Unburdened by the constraints of an apron, Lancaster could now experiment with fashion too, establishing a look that's comfortable, professional, and put together. Changes to her style were reminiscent of the wider dining industry, where front-of-house workers are distinguished by their attire and appearance. Lancaster stepping forward called for a similar stylistic distinction. When red carpet moments became part of the job, she was able to rise to the occasion with even more glamorous styling. Being the focal point allowed Lancaster to dress up in a wardrobe more aligned with her hosting responsibilities and providing a softer edge. The looser spirit that came about both visually and personality-wise allowed America's Test Kitchen to become a better version of its former self. Thanks in great part to Lancaster's new status and increased presence, the show didn't simply transform, it evolved. Lancaster and Davison were a dependable crew when working out recipes at the stove. They had equal energy and could banter with their host while explaining how to maximize the flavor in just about any recipe.
Well, we look at things like what would people like to take away from seeing our show?
So when replacement hosting duties were on the horizon, both Lancaster and Davison came to the fore. Instead of either serving as a second-tier host, both chefs occupy the frontmost space in the kitchen, trading off segments and lending their respective expertise as the situation requires. Viewers and critics alike noticed how the new pairing added an immediate playfulness that had been missing from the show's prior incarnation. Lancaster's warm friendship with Davison, combined with their shared professional knowledge, provided home cooks in need of guidance a friendly boost. Moreover, all that feels genuine rather than intimidating. Where ex-host Kimball could admittedly be somewhat prickly when chatting with others on the show, Lancaster and Davison came across as understanding and helpful. It's a welcome change in an environment where trying new things calls for encouragement, not snark. Letting Lancaster become a leader in the studio was an inspired move that gave the 17-year-old show a much-needed refresh. Partnering her with a co-equal leader in Davison gave her a chance to expand without taking on too much new responsibility all at once. While serving as test chef, Lancaster was affable and friendly, always explaining the recipes she'd developed and her process with clarity and good humor. But leading the show affords her an opportunity to speak to a broader array of subjects, prompting other test cooks as they stand in the spot she herself once occupied. Her quietly self-assured spirit presents her as a capable guide who can lead as well as follow. Lancaster always had a ready sense of humor when working in the kitchen, but becoming a host gives her an opportunity to charm both audiences and her fellow chefs. It's a trait that even comes through in interviews that detail her rise through the ranks. This warmth and good cheer may well have been percolating when Lancaster's exposure was limited to her cooking segments, but now she gets to share it as a foundational element of the show's spirit. It's an aspect of the show's transition that serves to reinvigorate a long-running series and give it a new lease on life. Though being a contributor to the America's Test Kitchen cookbooks came with the territory of serving as a test chef, the reality is that for a long while, Lancaster never had a chance to assemble a cookbook of her own. That changed with the introduction of a partner project with Davison and the launch of their 2017 book, Cooking at Home with Bridget and Julia. The title is an extension of what the two present on the show, a down-to-earth guide for making great food that cooks of all abilities can sink their teeth into. Aside from sharing the co-host's favorite easy-to-recreate recipes, the volume also gives a sneak peek of their lives away from the camera. The two share personal stories and take readers on a behind-the-scenes tour of their off-screen activities. Even with their long-term connection, Lancaster is very expressive about her gratitude at being able to stand beside a talent like Davison. After so many years as part of the Test Kitchen crew, Lancaster reports that she is still able to learn new things from her co-host and dear friend. Seeing their decades of experience wrapped up in book form is a piece of the transformation that gives fans and viewers more access to their trusted television cooking teacher. It doesn't hurt that the book expands the brand into even broader territory, too. Pairing Lancaster with Davison allowed the team to expand the fun interactions they displayed while working on recipe refinement together. While Kimball may have seemed a bit stressed as the solo star of the show, at least to some viewers, what's more clear is that these two provide a soothing balance. It certainly feels better suited for a show trying to convince an eager audience that cooking great things isn't as difficult as it might seem. Considering both Lancaster and Julia were part of the show's original television cooking crew, it also made for a smooth transition that helped show off Lancaster's strengths. This emerging confidence makes more sense in light of Lancaster and Davison's long-term friendship. It's a bond that began when they were the original two-thirds of the test cook team for Cooks Illustrated before they shifted over to America's Test Kitchen together.
We started at the bottom of the barrel. We worked our way up.
Having a decades-long connection gives the two a sisterly sort of sweetness that comes with its own touches of fun mischief, all of which feels baked in rather than contrived. Hosts that have been forced together without knowing one another beforehand can portray an awkward, off-putting energy. Yet Davison seems to bring out aspects of Lancaster that help her shine. Lancaster, of course, has the same effect on Davison, though Davison's outgoing personality has always felt a bit more lively. The role of host comes with opportunities for Lancaster to step outside the studio to represent both herself and the America's Test Kitchen brand in a variety of formats and forums. With a few public speaking engagements on her calendar, Lancaster often becomes the in-person face of the test kitchen world. It's at these events that she has the opportunity to chat about her experiences and vast culinary knowledge with hosts, while also fielding questions from audience members. It's a chance for viewers to see this talented host up close and personal. Lancaster has also taken on roles with some distinctly 21st century offerings from the America's Test Kitchen empire. She's the lead chef in the America's Test Kitchen Cooking School, an online academy that offers novice chefs access to instructional videos for self-paced learning. Lancaster also founded and co-created Proof, a podcast available on the company website. Episodes take deep dives into regional dishes and the history of specialty foods and beverages from around the world. With so much exciting activity bubbling all around her, Lancaster has made a stunning transformation that has taken her professional life ahead by leaps and bounds. It isn't surprising, given her long-term dedication to the brand. And with more than 20 years invested in helping America's Test Kitchen succeed on all fronts, it's refreshing to see Lancaster's work pay off.